Most people think AI is just another tool, something that helps you work faster, more efficiently, more productively. But in reality, AI is not improving jobs. It is quietly deciding which jobs still make sense to exist at all. Not because workers failed, not because companies are collapsing, and not because demand disappeared. In many cases, companies are more profitable than ever. What is changing is the logic of work itself. Tasks that once justified entire teams are now handled by systems that do not sleep, do not negotiate, and do not require salaries. Roles are not being replaced. They are being removed. This is why the current shift feels difficult to recognize. Unemployment numbers do not spike overnight. Headlines lag behind reality. And from the outside, everything still looks normal. But inside companies, the structure is already changing. Fewer people are needed to produce the same output. Fewer layers of management make sense, and fewer white-collar roles remain economically necessary. This is not a temporary cycle. It is not a slowdown, and it is not limited to tech. The job market is not adjusting to AI. It is being redesigned around it. On the surface, the job market does not look broken. Many companies continue to report strong earnings. Stock markets remain near historic highs. AI investment is accelerating across nearly every major industry. From the outside, this looks like progress. But beneath that surface, something very different is happening. Hiring is slowing, even at companies that continue to grow. Job postings are quietly being removed. Open roles are consolidated, delayed, or eliminated entirely. Not because businesses are under pressure, but because fewer people are needed to achieve the same results. This is the disconnect most people struggle to see. Economic strength once translated into more jobs. Growth meant expansion. Expansion meant hiring. That relationship is breaking. AI systems are absorbing tasks that once justified entire departments. Customer support, analysis, marketing operations, internal reporting, and even parts of software development are being streamlined into automated workflows. From a financial perspective, this looks like efficiency. From a labor perspective, it looks like stability. But structurally, it is something else entirely. Jobs are not being paused. They are being redesigned out of existence. This is why traditional indicators feel misleading. Employment data moves slowly. Layoffs appear isolated. And the economy appears resilient. But inside organizations, the logic has already shifted. Work is measured differently. Output is no longer tied to headcount. And the value of many white-collar roles is quietly being reevaluated. What looks like a healthy job market is, in reality, a system undergoing a fundamental rewrite. To understand why this moment is different, it helps to look at how automation worked in the past. Previous waves of technology replaced physical labor. Machines made factories faster. Software improved coordination. But human judgment, communication, and decision-making remained central. AI changes that balance. For the first time, systems are not just executing instructions. They are interpreting information, generating output, and making decisions that once required trained professionals. This is why the impact is concentrated in white-collar work. Jobs built around analysis, coordination, reporting, and routine judgment are especially vulnerable. These roles existed because information was slow, scarce, and expensive to manage. AI removes that constraint. What once required a team can now be handled by a system that scales instantly. What once justified layers of oversight can now be monitored automatically. And what once depended on experience can now be replicated through models trained on vast amounts of data. This is not task automation. It is role compression. Companies are discovering that they do not need to replace workers one for one. They can redesign workflows so that fewer roles are required at every level. This is why layoffs feel disconnected from performance. Teams are not shrinking because they failed. They are shrinking because the structure around them has changed. And unlike previous transitions, this one does not create an immediate replacement category of jobs. New roles do emerge, but they are fewer, more specialized, and far more concentrated. The result is a labor market that appears stable on the surface, but is hollowing out underneath. Jobs are not disappearing all at once. They are thinning, and that gradual thinning is far harder to recognize, far harder to measure, and far harder to reverse. The earliest impact of AI is not appearing where most people expected. It is not limited to factory floors or low-skill work. It is emerging first in roles built around information flow, coordination, and routine judgment. Software development offers one of the clearest examples. Not because code is disappearing, but because fewer engineers are needed to produce the same output. Tasks such as debugging, testing, documentation, and maintenance are increasingly automated or accelerated. Product management and operations roles are also being compressed. Much of their value came from organizing information, tracking progress, and aligning teams. AI systems now perform these functions continuously and at scale. Marketing, content, and analytics roles face similar pressure. Generating copy, analyzing performance data, and optimizing campaigns no longer require the same headcount. Even professional services are being affected. Legal research, financial analysis, and internal reporting are being streamlined through automated tools that reduce staff needs. What ties these roles together is not industry, but structure. They exist to process information. AI excels at exactly that. And while new opportunities do appear, they are narrow. They require higher specialization. They demand fewer people. For many workers, the risk is not immediate unemployment. It is gradual redundancy. Responsibilities shrink, career ladders flatten, and long-term stability quietly erodes. This is how disruption enters white-collar work. Not suddenly, but persistently. It is tempting to frame these changes as individual challenges. Learn new skills. Adapt faster. Stay competitive. That advice sounds reasonable, but it misses the scale of what is happening. When enough roles are removed from the system, the impact stops being personal and becomes structural. Jobs do not exist in isolation. They support spending, housing demand, tax revenue, and local services. When high-income white-collar roles shrink, entire economic loops weaken. Fewer paychecks mean less discretionary spending. Less spending affects restaurants, retail, transportation, and real estate. Commercial vacancies rise. Residential demand softens. Municipal budgets begin to feel pressure. This is how labor market changes quietly become urban changes. For most of modern history, cities were built around work. Factories shaped industrial cities. Offices shaped financial centers. And in recent decades, knowledge work built today's tech hubs. AI changes that relationship. It allows output to grow without expanding the workforce. It concentrates value without distributing employment. And it breaks the assumption that jobs must exist where people live. When fewer people are needed to write code, analyze data, or manage systems, entire neighborhoods lose their economic anchor. Office towers go dark. Local businesses lose customers. Tax bases erode slowly, then suddenly. The effects will not be evenly distributed. Some cities will adapt. Others will struggle. And a few will begin to decline long before the data makes it obvious. This is the part most people are not watching. Because the real question is no longer whether AI will reshape jobs. That is already happening. The real question is which cities are built to survive a world where those jobs no longer define the economy. In the next video, we will examine how AI is already reshaping urban centers. Which cities are most exposed? Which warning signs appear first? And why the future of work may determine the future of cities faster than anyone expects.